The most important thing is being there for the client,
Yeah.
understanding their human story, actually caring about them, you know, helping them navigate this new life that they have to live now, right? Because they have to live a new life. Like they were perfectly healthy before, or they had this loved one before, now they don't. And you need to just be able to sit down and listen and understand what they're going through and really, really, really want to be there for them. And it can't, I can't tell you, I have over 2,000 clients. I obviously can't talk to all of them.
Yeah.
But every 7-figure plus case that we've settled,
Yeah.
I've been very involved. I've
Yeah.
talked to the clients. And again, I think it goes back to like how we first started. I've trained my staff and my staff believes in me, and they're able to talk to them, and they're able to, a lot of these people don't have health insurance, right? They can't go to a doctor. They just got in an accident and they can't go to a doctor.
Man.
Or they don't speak English. They only speak Spanish, or they don't know what to do.
Right.
So we're there to help them. We're there to help them get to the right doctor, treat for their injuries, recover as much as possible, and then finally get them justice.
Yo, welcome to another episode of In a Minute with Evan Lovett, coming to you live from the I Am Studios in the heart of LA. And my guest today is a partner and a friend in an industry that isn't usually associated with heart. But this man, David Yerushalmi, has a lot of heart and he wears it on his sleeve. This is David Yerushalmi of Injuryneeds, Yerushalmi Law Firm. It's high time you come in the studio. I've been asking you for over a year to come on in here and just introduce yourself to the people that already know you with our giveaways, with you helping people, with you doing great things with your business, with us, for the people of Los Angeles. David, thank you so much for coming in here.
Of course, man. Thank you so much for having me. I feel like, I'm amongst greats. You've had so many amazing people on this podcast, and I just, I hope I could live up to the hype.
Absolutely. And listen, I've been chasing you down. I've been telling you to come on because every time we talk, and we have this partnership, which is really good because I'm able to give tickets. We've given away Dodger tickets. We've given away Rams tickets, Disneyland tickets, but we've also been able to help people find a resource where they may not have help, or they may not have the ability to kind of defend themselves when a certain situation comes up, whether it's pedestrian, car accident, anything like that. Your firm, Yerushalmi Law Firm, Injuryneeds, has helped people collect a lot of money and really changed a lot of lives. And I'm not saying this as bullshit, right? Like I'm on some of these calls. I see the calls that he posts, but I see the comments. I see how people are like, David, you've really helped me get a car. I was pedestrian, I was metro, like, the settlements or the deals that we do are able to help you get a car or get a new car or get a down payment on a house or just get what's rightfully theirs when an insurance company or in a situation they get in something where otherwise they wouldn't have had somebody to defend them and stand up for their rights and stand up for that. And that's a big, important thing. So thank you for that. And thank you for coming in because I know that your heart's always in the right place. And you're going to see that this is a genuine human being with a great story. So I'm excited to have you on, man.
I appreciate that, man. I'm excited to be on too. I've been asked to be on podcasts, and I wasn't really ready, but I told myself, 2026, I'm going to try to share a little bit more of the story. And this was the first place I wanted to do it. So I appreciate you having me.
Well, there we go. So first, let me give a shout out to our sponsor, Arto Brick. You guys now at least know the name, fabricating historic tiles and bricks for LA landmarks. Olvera Street is my favorite. Plaza de Cultura y Artes, Mariachi Plaza, USC, of which David is an alum, by the way.
Right on.
And so many more. But thank you, Arto Brick, for running a factory, manufacturing in Los Angeles, where they say it's so hard to do business, but he's employing dozens of people, and he is a third generation LA American dream story. So support Arto Brick, and Arto Brick, thank you for supporting the show. But let's start with David. So, okay, your firm, Injuryneeds, has honestly collected millions of dollars for people in a pretty short period of time. Now, that's another thing that's impressive. And I got to set the tone on that too, is when David and I meet face to face or when we talk, one thing that I love and that we connect over, all right, Mamba mentality, which we know is a big LA ethos. but this man does not sleep. This is hard work. This is hustle. This is dedication. And you guys know how I produce. And this is something that I'm like, all right, we see eye to eye on that. So first thing I want to get into, how did you start your own firm and build it into something? Because I've seen, when I go in there, again, talk about dozens of employees, penthouse office, like great big old suites. Like, how did you build something like that in such a small period of time? Like, give us the origin first of the firm, and then we're going to go into your background, which is fascinating as well.
Listen, it's a good question. I think, first of all, a lot of this is, I don't know if I believe in luck, but I believe in blessings. So, I think God has definitely blessed me. And it's really, really, really hard work, man. We email back and forth late at night on weekends.
This guy's always around, always available. I can attest.
I mean, I'm just, I'm a dog. And that's what it is. Like, I want to win so bad. Like, this is what I want. Ever since I was a kid, ever since I can remember, I just want to be the best. And I think it goes to that Mamba mentality. And, I've always been an entrepreneur, always selling things since I was young, selling phones on Craigslist, whatever I could get my hands on.
Yeah.
I took a little bit of money out of student loans actually while I was at USC and put it in the stock market, like 12,000 by the time I
don't try that at home, kids.
Yeah,
now it'd be crypto, but yeah.
I don't recommend it, but I did it and it worked. And by the time I graduated law school, I had it turned into $60,000.
Wow.
And I was blessed to have a really good mentor that I worked for a year before I passed the bar. And as soon as I passed the bar, I was just ready to start. And I put that $60,000 into, marketing. I used his office and I just kept doubling down. Every time I settled a case, I kept putting the money back into the business. I think 2021, we hired our first employee. Now we're 50 people in-house and 20 VAs. We've done well over $100 million in settlements in the past, few years. I think 4 or 5 years. I think close to 50 last year.
Yeah. Wow.
So I think, it's just really having faith in God and in myself and just putting one foot in front of the other and keep going. And what makes what I do specifically easy is that not only is there, big opportunity for success, but I also get to genuinely help people who are going through a hard time. And, those two things together just make me unstoppable, man.
I'll tell you this. When you see those phone calls and what, David, did you invent this? Is that your thing with the calls? So he'll call someone when he settles the case. He'll call somebody, surprise them with the good news. And it's pretty exciting because sometimes they will straight up scream and yell like, ah, and it really is changing somebody's life after what was something that changed their life in such a negative way. And that's a blessing in itself to be able to do that, to come in and present that news. But behind the scenes is that hard work and that skill and that savvy and knowing how to make it all work and come together. I want to know first, how did you come up with the idea? Because I feel like that's something that kind of really put you on the map.
Yeah.
Where we're the phone calls, right?
So it's a great question. I first of all, I am the first person who did it. I don't think anyone else did it before me.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really something I came up with. My favorite part of doing this was whenever we called clients and told them their case settled.
Yeah.
So, I would have I had 1 or 2 employees at the time. I would have them come to my office and we would call the client and, we wanted to tell them their case settled and it was hype and we wanted to get the reaction. And we had this one specific client, Chris, who was in a really bad accident.
Right.
And he lived in his car. So, his car was totaled and he had nowhere to live.
Yeah.
And he was just devastated. He was injured. He didn't have a place to live. And, we had a $18,000 offer and the policy limits were $200,000.
And this is from the insurance companies, right? That's the majority of how it's working and who you're dealing with. And they try to lowball it, right?
Yes.
Because they want to just go like that. Here you go. Get out of our face. Have a good life, right?
Exactly.
And for somebody who lost not just their car, but their home and their transportation to even try to make a living, 18 grand isn't going to cut it. Not in this city.
Yeah. And I mean, he had medical bills and, and all those things too.
Right.
So, the 18 grand was, barely going to cover his medical bills.
Yeah.
I mean, he would have netted probably, a couple $1,000s if he was lucky.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we called him and he's like, accept the 18 grand. Like, I need these $2,000. I just want to, get a place to live. And I was like, Chris, give me 2 weeks, man. Just give me 2 weeks.
Okay.
And, he agreed to give me 2 weeks and we settled the case in 2 weeks for $200,000. So I was like, Leah, Leah's my first employee. Come in the office. We're calling this guy and we're getting it on video. And can I curse on this?
Of course.
Okay.
Of
So,
course.
I was so hyped that I was on the phone with him and I was like, don't fuck with me, Chris. And we got this on video and I'm in a t-shirt. I have a dog on my lap.
Yeah.
I'm a lawyer. And I sent it to my friend, not expecting, my friend Alex, my best friend, not expecting to like ever put this on Instagram. And he's like, man, you have to put this on Instagram. And I have mentors that, have been doing this for a long time. And I showed them and like, bro, you're a lawyer. You cannot sit behind a desk with a t-shirt and a dog, and cursing and put this on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? This is who I am. Yeah. And like, and you're talking about like success. Like, I think I've been very successful because I've, thank God I've never tried to be who I'm not. I'm myself. I've grown into this person. I've had the crazy life experiences who have made me who I am. And I was like, you know what? This is who I am. I come to work in a t-shirt every day and I do a really good job and I need to share this with the world. And we put it on and the rest is history, man. Everyone loved it. And, now we're doing it and it's taken a life of its own.
And it's pretty legit. And look, he has a ton of followers and a ton of like legit engagement. You could tell. And here's one thing I want to put out there too. You hear injury lawyer or PI lawyer, and there's this negative stigma and people are like, oh God, and blah, blah, blah. But then you meet David and you use the word genuine. And this is the truth. Like from our meetings, from our calls, every time we've had interactions, I'm like, again, going back to the heart concept where I'm like, he really does care and he really is this good person. And I'll never forget the first time we ever went out to lunch together. We were at his office, go to, do a meet and greet, blah, 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 show me around the office. And we go downstairs and we're walking around Beverly Hills. And it's like I'm walking with the biggest celebrity in town. Like it could have been Kim Kardashian, George Clooney, like Rick Caruso, everybody. And not just in his building. Like I'm talking around the neighborhood. Hugs, what's up, David? Oh, David, how you doing? And it's like, with a positive interaction, with a smile. And you don't think of attorneys like that in any kind of attorney, but in the personal injury space, you definitely don't think like that. And I think that that's something that's important and part of the reason that I wanted to have you on, because it's like breaking that stereotype, that stigma where it's not just bullshit of wanting to help people. Like you really do care and you come from such a good place. Where is that? Was that family background? Was it upbringing? Like what about you made you like that?
Yeah. So first of all, I think I really do care.
Yeah.
I have amazing parents that, taught me how important it is, if with high responsibility comes, you owe to God who gave you, this type of responsibility to make sure you do the best thing with it. So I care about every single client. I also do think we just live in an environment where, maybe 15, 20 years ago, you could be a motherfucker and get away with it. But now you really have to be a good person because people have choices, right?
Yeah.
They before switching your lawyer or finding a lawyer, like you needed to know someone, you need to ask them. Now all you need to do is go online and just find someone. It's the same thing with employees. Like if an employee wanted to leave, they had to go door to door, hand out their resume. Now all they need to go is on Indeed and submit their resume and they can find the job. So not only do you have to be good to your clients and really care about them because they have options and they know the world, but they also know what a genuine person is.
Yeah.
So you have to be good to them. You have to be good to the people who work for you because
Right.
they're also, you can only do so much by yourself, right? The people who work for you need to not only care about you and the mission, but when you're helping people, your employees are talking to them. If your employees don't care about you and know that you care about your clients, the message isn't going to get across because they're not going to be genuine.
You need to, and I'm glad you brought up your team because I've dealt with people on his team. And let me tell you, I'm not always easy to deal with behind the scenes. I'm doing 100 different things, going 100 different directions. And I've made it hard for some of your staff, difficult conversations or putting things together. But people are loyal to you and people are like David first. And in this day and age, especially, man, my wife's hired people, gone through employees. I've hired people, gone through employees. Anybody sees it like since COVID, but probably before that. But the saying since COVID, like people don't care as much and they do have other options.
They want to work from home.
Yeah, they want to work. But it's like you're doing something right to have people respond to you like that and to be so loyal and protect you. And not like I was like trying, doing some shit, but it's just like, oh shit, these people like legit care about David. And again, a testament to what he's doing. And so I want to get into that in its root level. Okay, let's talk about your origin story. You're Persian.
Yes.
Your family is from Iran, which especially now is big in the news with everything that's going on there. But it's been a story in LA at least since the revolution in '79. I mean, Tehrangeles in Westwood, the Persian community in Los Angeles, one of the biggest Persian community in the world outside of Iran, but one of the biggest communities in Los Angeles and one of the most important, one of the most proud. Your parents came from there. Tell us about, that journey and sort of what you can speak on to the culture in Los Angeles and just how that sort of shaped you.
Yeah. So I'm Persian Jewish. My parents had to flee Iran, mostly because they were Jewish and they were no longer welcome there when Khomeini came. My dad's story specifically is, a very interesting one. He had a neighbor that, when he was a military age after the revolution and he didn't show up, for the military because the military was mandatory there. And his neighbor told on him and the Revolutionary Guard was coming. And, back then when the Revolutionary Guard comes, I mean, there's only one thing that's going to happen. You're probably going to be dead or, something close to that.
Yeah.
So my dad had to literally pack up his bags within less than 24 hours and leave through Camel in Pakistan and leave everything behind. Didn't get to say bye to his parents. We actually, met his parents for the first time in 2018 when they moved to Israel. But, I think these stories, and, just watching what my parents went through to be here.
Right.
And, I owe it to them to be successful, right? They sacrificed everything to be here.
Yeah.
And I not only owe it to them to be successful, but my grandfather, who, was one of the closest people to me and, always told me, because I always wanted to be successful and I always told him this. And he said, when you reach the greatest heights, don't ever forget where you came from. Yes. And, by don't forget where you came from, your roots, like you have to be humble, God gave you this. So I think, watching those stories and those sacrifices and those hardships that my family made for me to be here, and then seeing my parents who, my first language was Farsi, they didn't really know, too much about the United States or how it operated or, things like that, watching them being taken advantage of.
Did they come to Los Angeles right off the bat?
My mom went to New York for a little while. My dad came to Los Angeles and they actually met in LA. Then my mom came to LA.
Okay.
So yeah, man, God bless the people of Iran. It's tragic what's going on there.
Right.
It's a crazy time. I hope, hopefully there's a revolution and, a new leadership comes because the people of Iran, they deserve it, man.
Yeah, people are very passionate about it. It's a big deal in LA, and I did a story in LA in a minute on it. Kind of, just objective facts, but it was people really care, and I think it's one of those issues that sort of in everything that's going on now, something that may not have the focus that it probably deserves, especially here in Los Angeles with the big community. But now growing up, I know that you have one of the things that touched me the most about David is, back when we first started talking, I was going through his old feed, saw some Kobe stuff, and I'm like, I know he's a good guy. But there was also an interview that you gave at Beverly Hills High School. Right? Why was that special to you to speak at Beverly Hills? Because I know, and again, I know how hard it was for me to get you here, and to do this kind of presentation. That's a little bit different. But talk to me about that.
So, I had an interesting childhood, especially as Persian Jew. I was kind of the black sheep of my community. I got arrested, probably over 20 times. I spent 8 months in juvenile hall and camp, and then 3 months in LA County Jail.
Wow.
I ended up eulogizing the judge that sentenced me. I eulogized my cellmate who, helped change my life. I got kicked out of Beverly High.
Yeah.
A lot of, at the time, a lot of the people, their parents didn't want them to hang out with me and stuff like that. I ended up a judge took a chance on me, and I wanted to prove him right.
Right.
And I'm also a big believer that you always go back to your roots. And I just had really good roots, man. I had amazing, wonderful parents who I put through hell, and hopefully now I've made up for it. But I had to go to Beverly High because I got kicked out of that school, and they invited me for career day.
Yes.
So I had to take my mom and sit her in the front and have her watch me talk to all these kids.
Yeah.
And actually, Chris Anderson, who was the security guard when I went to Beverly High, is still one of the security guards there. And he walked in and he was like, what? It looked like he saw a ghost, and like it made all the kids he was like, I would never expect to see you here.
That's the best. Yeah.
So just to have my mom, I mean, that was probably, one of the most satisfying things ever in my life, to be able to take my mom to the school that I was kicked out of, to watch me give a speech to all the students.
So it was all the trouble that you were getting into that kind of changed everything, right?
It's a lot of stuff.
Right.
And it's probably, a conversation that I will want to get into one day, and it's a long one, but I think it taught me so much that I wouldn't change for everything. Like just being in those environments, being in jail, being exposed to something different, because, as a Persian Jew, and I did have a lot of privilege. Not to get it, but I also, as a young kid, I watched my dad lose everything to a partner who kind of, had an affair with their bookkeeper and ended up screwing him over. And he never recovered. So, that kind of stuff. So going through these things, watching that happen to him, being able to relate to so many different people.
Yeah.
I think it's helped me with my clients, right? Because I've lived so many different lives. I can get on the phone and relate to anyone and empathize with them, and I think they feel that.
Yeah.
And when I see what they're going through, I can relate to it, I think it really helps me get them a better result, share their story, and be there for them. Because at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. People need someone to be there for them and believe in them.
And I think you said a magic word there, was empathy, especially in your profession, which is a rarity. I mean, being able to relate, to communicate, to understand, and just to be there, as you said, is something that's so important, because there's a lot of people with bad intentions in your space. And again, I've seen the relationships you've developed and what you've been able to accomplish. So I want to go to your kind of upbringing after, let's say, the epiphanies,
I also do want to say one thing.
Yeah,
Sorry.
for sure.
So I do think personal injury lawyers get a bad rap because there's a few bad apples that unfortunately, but listen, it's not just me who cares. There's a lot of people who care, and there's a lot of people who I've been blessed to be able to pick their brain and have taught me. I mean, I'm riding on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here without, a community of good people. But yeah, it's unfortunate. There are people who, have done wrong things, and that kind of shines a bad light onto the rest of the people who are actually really trying to do good and help people. And there's so many of them. So I want to.
And look, I don't want to paint with a broad brush in the other direction, but a lot of the time you're fighting against insurance companies.
Yes.
And again, those aren't exactly the most sympathetic character, the most people care. Unfortunately, they should be. You have your insurance for a reason, to be your cushion or your safety net. And, so often, I know this with health insurance, fortunately nothing major, but even just little things, or even, and this is a very minor seeming example, but you'll get it. Like, I have pet insurance, and my dog had 2 eye surgeries and cancer, and you want to guess how much, and paying every month. And there's always some, no, we're not going to cover that. Or one settlement, the last thing he had an eye surgery was $1,200. They paid $51 of it. And you're like, come on, man. I'm almost like, why even bother? Why even bother? And like, you hear that all the time. Like David was saying earlier, $18,000 on something that was worth $200,000 to them, and it's like, so fighting for people to get what they really do deserve in these instances is something that's really necessary.
I have a case right now where the lady was hit by a commercial vehicle.
Yeah.
They showed up, offered her $2,000 to sign a release. Thankfully, she called me.
Yeah.
This was like 3 years ago. We have an offer on the table right now for $1 million. We're not taking it. Our last demand was 11 million. And, we're litigating the case. We're going to fight it, and hopefully we're going to get her millions of dollars. But I mean, I see this all the time. Like, you get in an accident with a truck, somebody shows up at your door the next day and tries to offer you $400 or $1,000 just because you live in the hood and they think you don't know better, or you don't speak English, you're Hispanic, or, they try to take advantage of you.
Yeah.
And these insurance companies are, real bad people, man.
There's a guy named Luigi out there who, no, I'm not going there, but no, hey, I'm not advocating that, but no. So it really is important, but I want to talk about the development, right? So you got kicked out of high school. How did you end up at USC undergrad after that? What was the path that you took to end up at USC undergrad and then law school and beyond?
So I went to SMC.
Okay. By the way, California community colleges are a gem and a jewel and an amazing resource. My wife, my mom, my dad, all firsthand people that I've seen succeed. One of my best friend, college roommate, like the community colleges is a great, great, great route. I just want to plug that because I'm a huge advocate for our community colleges. Sorry, go ahead.
I guess, look, I never did well with authority. I don't like people telling me what to do. Okay. So in high school and stuff, you're really like, you're trapped, people telling you what to do. I guess later, and I was always pretty bright.
Yeah.
I just never really, applied myself to school.
Same story.
But I went to Santa Monica College. To a certain extent, I finessed my way through there.
Yeah.
And then by the grace of God, I got into USC. And when I got into USC, I knew it was game time, man. And I had a business. I actually had a partner. We were, selling iPhones and iPads and stuff like that. We sold them to Dwight Howard. I mean, like a lot of, celebrities, because at that time it was like hard to get an iPad or an iPhone when it first came out.
Yeah, dude. I remember those lines.
Yeah, it was crazy lines. So like we were getting them right away, and we were doing well. I was making good money for 20-something-year-olds,
especially in college, of course. Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? That's it. I got into USC. I'm not gonna fuck around. There was times where I would get a motel across the street just so I could take naps. I wouldn't go home. Like, I would take a 2-hour nap and study, because I had a lot of studying to do.
Yeah.
Because I was not used to reading or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I worked really. Anyone who went to USC with me will tell you that I was probably the hardest worker there. Wow. I was always in the library, always studying. I graduated top 5 in my class.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And it was a second chance in life. So I had to take advantage of it. And, that was it. I was going to have integrity. I was going to put in the work. I wasn't going to, mess around. I wasn't going to cheat myself. And I made it, man.
So how'd you know you wanted to go into law, though?
It's a good question. I think I always, dabbled in it because of the trouble I had gotten into. I wanted to be a criminal defense attorney.
Yeah.
My criminal defense attorney was, I watched her take advantage of my parents, and, she would, for example, like tell my parents, like, oh, if you don't do this, this, and this, like, you don't pay me this much, your son's going to go to jail for 10 years. Just like, and my parents would get really scared and give her whatever she asked for, right? Because they didn't grow up in the United States. My parents are simple, good, hardworking people.
Yeah.
And, I wanted to be different, and I wanted to be a lawyer and do good for people. So I didn't really know if it was possible because of my record. And I actually had to write a 116-page autobiography to the bar. And I had a meeting with the entire moral character. Getting through the bar for me, it took me a year. So I passed the bar, but it took me a year. But I really wanted to be a criminal defense attorney. Life has a weird way of, doing things. I think at some point, God willing, I definitely still want to do some type of pro bono criminal defense stuff.
Okay.
Not for the money, just because I want to, do things that I want to do.
Yeah.
But one of my friends met this, lawyer at a party, and, was like, look, you should go interview with this guy. And I went and interviewed with him. His name is David Maccabee. And I loved personal injury because it gave you the chance to be very successful and help people at the same time.
Yeah.
And he became my mentor, and he taught me so much. I went to him the first day. I was like, look, it's going to take me some time to get into the bar. I want to be upfront with you. I have this rap sheet. I don't know when but I'll come here. I'll put in the fucking work. I'll work for, minimum wage, whatever it is. But once I become a lawyer, I want to start my own firm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to his credit, he was like, okay. And I kept my promise and he kept his, and he helped me and he mentored me and he taught me a lot. And now I'm here.
Where was he based?
He's actually in the same building I am.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And my first office was out of his office. So he gave me an office rent free. Because I mean, again, I had $60,000. I mean, it seems like it is a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I'm in an industry where people are spending $5 million a month on marketing, right?
Ridiculous. Yeah. And again, in LA, unfortunately, like 60 grand isn't 60 grand.
Yeah.
Like that's a rough. Yeah. So go.
Yeah. I mean, like my competitors at the time were spending millions of dollars a month just on ads.
Still.
Like,
yeah. Right.
So he gave me an office. I did some work for him on the side. And then again, I just, I got blessed and, I kept doubling down, and now I'm spending, my overhead is, not that much, but they're invested very high, 7 figures a month.
Yeah. Jeez, that's incredible. And again, it's a testament to the work you've done and what you've accomplished, though, because with that size comes the success, but with the success comes the investment and the need to keep growing. So, I mean, it speaks for itself. But you went to law school in New York, right?
Yes.
Tell me about that. And what were your thoughts on New York, and just what was New York like? And I know as a law student, you probably didn't get to have the full New York experience, but what was it? Still.
So I love New York City, man. New York City, there's nothing like it. I mean, LA, I wouldn't rather be anywhere but LA to live full time. But when you're young and ambitious, there's nowhere like New York because it gives you vision. The people there are all fucking hungry. Like they all come there. Man. Like all the young people come from all over the country and even the world.
Yes.
Because they are just, they're dogs and they want to get it. So I think a lot more than school, I just learned about life and ambition and, like just vision. I got vision being there.
Were you there 3 years?
I was there 2.5 years. Yeah.
Okay.
I ended up here. I had some stuff come up like with my health that I had to, move back to LA, and I was able to finish year 4 there.
That's cool. Okay. But in New York, and let's talk about New York for a sec, because ambition is the word. And like, look, you guys know I love LA more than anything in this world, but New York is, if you're not on your game 100% of the time, the second you leave your front door, like forget about it. Because I always say this, I go for 2 days, 3 days, maybe 4 days. And I'm like, it's one of the best places in the world, and you love it and you feel that energy, but it's exhausting. And the ambition, the level of that, that you feel on the streets, just walking around, whether you're in Brooklyn or Midtown or wherever you are, like you gotta be, and for me,
you're making me miss New York.
and that's what I'm saying. You gotta be cut from a specific cloth, because in LA, this is again, a silly example, but I think it's a good example. In LA, and I do this, you can walk outside, be on your cell phone.
You can have a 2-hour lunch in LA.
Yeah. Scrolling Instagram, walk around, sit down on somebody's lawn and like relax. Like, and in New York, man, if you're looking down for 1 second, boom, take one in the shoulder, and like, you better know where you're going, what you're doing. You got to have that focus.
Yes.
And you got to have that drive, and it's exhausting, man. So, and yes, if you make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. And I get that. I think that's a truism. But one of the reasons why I love LA is because we don't have to have that all the time. But that sort of shaped you. And that's a reflection of who you are, because you are so driven. So, I mean, it fueled your later success.
100%. I wouldn't trade going to New York for anything. It taught me so much. Even the people, one of my best friends that I still talk to very often, Doriel.
Yeah.
We met in law school, and, just the people, it's just, so I have a lot of young, I don't want to call them kids, but, younger people reaching out to me almost every single day. I mean, I think most of the people who want to start a law firm are, who are in law school or, undergrad, are calling my office or DMing us on Instagram or, because, I think I'm relatable. I'm not in a suit, these young guys that, I think, we've set a standard where, people see that what's possible. And they always ask me for advice, like kids going into college. Again, like even the kids from Beverly High.
Yeah.
And the one thing I tell them is, listen, we live in, especially right now with like Chat GPT and AI and all this stuff, YouTube. I mean, the information is all there. You know, you don't need to go far to get the information.
Right.
What sets you apart is the experience, right? Getting out of your comfort zone, being able to relate to people, being real, knowing who you are.
Yeah.
You know, that's the kind of stuff that's going to differentiate you. Everyone has the information. It's not like before. Information is only going to get you so far. So going to New York, getting out of my comfort zone. You know, I lived here my whole life, moving there, starting law school, having to meet new people, putting myself out there, networking on, all these things, working hard, experiencing different weather. Was the first time I was ever in the snow.
Just good boy. And I didn't even
just you think like it's not a big deal, but like here, most of the time you can go out and do whatever you want. But like, what about when it's fucking snowing? You need to get to fucking school, or you need to walk back from the library at 2 a.m. in the snow because you need to study. It's a different ball game, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're probably walking or having to take the subway, or just like interacting with so many different people that you don't get a chance to hear. Again, I wouldn't trade being in LA for anything. Yeah. I love LA. That's why I came back.
It hardens you and it sharpens you, man.
But I would tell anyone trying to, any young person who wants to make it, the number one piece of advice I would give them, and it's kind of cliche, but get out of your fucking comfort zone. Do things that you're not comfortable with. Meet new people. Go to new places, because especially now, I think it's more important than ever.
What is it? That saying, there's a saying, it says, be comfortable being uncomfortable, or something like that, right? 100%. And that is the truth. And it's like, when I do public speaking or events, and it's just like, oh, you're the LA Minute guy, just talk about LA. And it's like, yeah, of course, I love talking about LA. If you come up to me on the street, I'll talk your ear off about LA, but it's different. And you do get nervous, and it is difficult, but you just got to do it.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing at the end of the day, is you have to make yourself do it. And then I always say, like, once you're doing it, you're doing it. Like there's no more safety net. So just go.
The first step is the hardest.
Yes. Oh man. Absolutely. And this is a stupid tangent. I remember having to do papers or term papers in college, right? And you get this assignment, it'd be like 20 pages on whatever the fuck, right? And you're like, oh my God, I don't want to read this stupid poetry book or something. And I'm like, how am I going to write 20 pages? And you wait for the last minute. It's like the night before, it's due Friday. It's like Thursday night at 9 p.m. You're like, well, I guess I'll start this thing, right? Like, and I just remember, you're like, where do you even start? And it's so dumb, but it would help me writing a title page. I remember, like, I would write a title page and be like, all right, I started. Like, that's nothing. That has nothing to even like do with the assignment. But at that point in my mind, I'd be like, we're doing this now. Now this paper's going, so I gotta do it from there. But it's kind of like, that first step's the hardest, and that's the one that if you do, you're going to be able to do it from that point forward.
Yeah, 100%. And someone told me, my cousin Shahram, when I was trying to decide, so I kind of touched on how, I had a business and then I got into USC.
Yeah.
I wasn't so sure I wanted to go to college. I knew, I think that, making money and being successful to a certain extent comes naturally to me.
Yeah.
I think the skills are transferable. I probably could have been successful at a lot of things that I did.
Agree.
Because I'm a hustler. That's who I am.
Of course, that's the mentality.
One thing he said to me that, really stuck with me, and then someone else also told me something, but one is, you go to school to learn how to learn. It's not the information, right? You learn how to learn. And it's such an important point, because it's so overlooked. Like, it's like what you said, right? Like, you don't want to do it, and it's like it kind of maybe seems like bullshit. Like, you don't need this information, but you're learning how to do things. You're learning to learn.
Man, this is such an important point on a larger scale, especially now, because I always hear this narrative about, oh, college isn't important, and like college isn't what it used to be. Like, I get that. Like. And I'm a sociology major, so I'm like, I get that your sociology degree isn't really going to pave too many paths for you in life, right? History, literature, I get all that, but that's not why you're going to college, right? And like, listen, the experience in itself is great, and you're learning how to live life and how to do things, but it's just like you said, you're learning how to learn and stay within the system, or stay within to succeed within people's confines or these structures, because guess what? In the real world, there's all kinds of like nebulous things that you need to do or certain tasks that you need to do to pay your bills and just life skills.
100%.
And it's teaching you these things, learning how to learn. This is a brilliant way to put it.
And we interview, I mean, I think over the past 5 years, I've had hundreds of interviews of, college graduates from the top universities. I mean, I've interviewed people from Harvard, from Penn, from UCLA, USC that want to come, work for us. And I see their resume and, I start asking them questions and like, that's really what I'm looking for. Like, okay, great. Yeah, you went to UCLA. That says a lot about you, right?
Right.
But like, what have you done in your life? Like, what obstacles have you overcome? What, what challenges have you had? Like, I look at like, have you worked at school? Like a lot of times I much rather hire someone who worked at Starbucks for like 2 years than someone who like had an internship at like a prestigious law firm. Because like if you had a internship at a prestigious law firm, 9 out of 10 times, your parents probably knew someone and put you there. And that's the only reason you got the job, right? But if you were at Starbucks and you're dealing with all these people, you're hustling, you have a good work ethic, and like, I'm going to trust you.
Man, one of my really good friends, Jimmy Guaman, shout out Jimmy. I'm actually wearing a shirt, ABH. This is always be hustling, right? And he's a guy that isn't the traditional intellectual, let's say, and he's smart. He's smart as hell, but like testing, standardized testing, stuff like that. But it's the hustle and it's the work ethic and it's the balancing people's emotions and being able to read people and knowing how to work within those relationships. Like it, and I mean relationship, even like you said at Starbucks, you have that quick fleeting relationship with a customer. Like they just want their latte or whatever. That's a relationship. And you have to react because you don't know what emotional state they're in. They're going to treat you like an asshole sometimes and all this kind of stuff. And being able to deal with that and being able to do your work and focus on all these tasks, it's really important. It's more important than just the scholastic 99 percentile like test takers that I've encountered a lot of those people, as I'm sure you have. And you're like, man, like this person is not going to be able to succeed in a real world, real interpersonal relationship.
More than ever now because of AI.
Oh man, don't get me started. I'm somewhat of a Luddite that's I don't fully adopt and embrace technology, but that one scares me. That'll be for different. Okay, let's talk about what I want to talk about, personal injury law for a second. Take me through like a day in the life. And I know that we only have so much time, so I know one of your days like a 20-hour day, but like, tell me the nuts and bolts on like cases you see, how you deal with cases, like what is a procedure, or give us an example. What's a good way to have somebody like really realize what it is that you do in that kind of context?
So a lot of what I do now is like manage a business because I have so many employees and stuff like that. So I get into the office, I'm answering emails, I'm putting out fires, I'm negotiating very high level cases.
Yeah.
But most of what we see is auto accidents where, people are pretty badly injured. I mean, and a lot of people, may take this like when someone says their neck hurts or whatever. But one really good example I heard is like, just think about, have you ever had a night where like you go to sleep and you sleep the wrong way and you wake up and your neck hurts?
Of course, I'm over 40, bro.
Yeah.
It's more often than not.
And it affects almost everything you're doing that day, right? Now imagine that, you're just this innocent person on your way to work. Yeah. Boom, you get hit by a truck. And now you have that neck pain every single day for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge deal. It affects everything you do.
With my parents. Absolutely.
And, that's just on a small scale, right? I mean, a lot of my clients have traumatic brain injuries. We have amputation cases. We have, unfortunately, death cases. So I think the most important thing is being there for the client, understanding their human story, actually caring about them, helping them navigate this new life that they have to live now, right? Because they have to live a new life. Like they were perfectly healthy before, or they had this loved one before, now they don't. And you need to just be able to sit down and listen and understand what they're going through and really, really, really want to be there for them. And it can't, I mean, I can't tell you, I mean, I have over 2,000 clients. I obviously can't talk to all of them,
Yeah. Yeah.
but every 7-figure plus case that we've settled,
Yeah.
I've been very involved. I've
Yeah.
talked to the clients. And again, I think it goes back to like how we first started. I've trained my staff and my staff believes in me, and, they're able to talk to them, and they're able to, a lot of these people don't have health insurance, right? They can't go to a doctor. I mean, they just got in an accident and they can't go to a doctor.
Man.
Or they don't speak English. They only speak Spanish, or, they don't know what to do.
Right.
So we're there to help them. We're there to, help them get to the right doctor, treat for their injuries, recover as much as possible, and then finally get them justice.
And you're dealing with mostly insurance companies on the other side?
All I do is deal with insurance companies. I mean, insurance companies and their lawyers.
What is that like? I mean, how do you...
It's David versus Goliath, man.
Literal David versus Goliath.
And I'm just fucking having a great time teaching these insurance companies a lesson every single day. So, that's what we do.
I got to say something that you kind of unlocked a core memory, as they say. But this is a true story. So my mom had a Toyota Celica that she bought at Hamer Toyota. Shout out Hamer Toyota, sponsor.
My mom actually had a Toyota Celica growing up too.
Yeah, okay. So mom had a Toyota Celica. And I'll never forget this. I come home and it was tan, like that tan brown color, which, anyway, point is, she loved her Celica. She loved this car. And all of a sudden I remember, and I was a little kid, and she comes home and the car was like being towed into our house, our driveway. And it turns out my mom got in this accident. She was on the freeway and a big rig like cut her off or didn't see her and drove her into the barrier, and she was injured. Her back hurt and all this kind of stuff. And this in the 1980s. She never went to like an attorney or anything like this. And I don't know, I was too young to know, the immediate ramifications, but I do know this is that started a lifetime of back problems. And she was a nurse. She was a registered proud nurse, Valley Presbyterian Hospital, Northridge Hospital, all those. She was a great caring person, but it started a life of back pain. And as she got older, it got worse. And it was recurring. And then she was on medicine. And then she needed surgery. And then she needed a spinal fusion. And then her body rejected the spinal fusion.
She never got a lawyer.
So she had to get the spinal fusion equipment removed, which was even worse. Then she got on the strong meds. And then by the end of her life, she was like addicted to these triple script like narcotics. And that's a whole different pharma thing. But the point is, it all started with this car accident. And, at the time, like, you're just, I'm glad you're okay. But you don't realize that that's going to change. It changed her life. I mean, ask my wife. I always had to tell my wife, like, my mom was a different person when I was growing up, because by the time I met my wife, she was, my mom was still a great person, but she was clouded by all these meds and like totally different, always in pain and emaciated and all this kind of stuff. So this really does like change people's lives for the worse. And again, thank you to David for at least getting some compensation, because that surely would have helped, and it could have sent her down a different path, just as far as the care all the way through that too. But
so sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah, but I mean, this is a real thing that people are dealing with, and it's great to have a resource like David, like Injuryneeds, to be able to kind of fight for people, especially people who can't fight for themselves. Because like your clientele does come from every walk in Los Angeles, and that's something that resonated with me, because LA in a minute, we love to celebrate the city, the whole city, everybody in this awesome, diverse, rich, cultured city. And you're covering people from every single demographic, which is so important.
And we've been blessed to, work with LA legends to get the word across, like you. We work with so many different people from LA.
Yeah.
We work with some guy, White Wall Stunts, who literally takes our hoodies and is passing them out around Skid Row every single week. We've hundreds of hoodies a month we're passing out.
Yeah.
So it's also just great to be able to give back to the community, because at the end of the day, LA is home. And just like if you're, especially like those people who are from LA and grew up here, they see each other and they love each other and they know what's up. And, being able to do this in my hometown and watch myself being able to change people's lives from across so many different spectrums. I mean, I've had clients who, bought houses because we were able to settle their case. I mean, they literally called me like, hey man, I just want to let you know, like, I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment with my wife and 2 kids, and we just bought a house. So just that is worth more than any amount of money in the world. Like, knowing that you had that effect on someone
Yeah.
is it's just priceless, man. It's priceless, and it keeps you grounded, and it's just a blessing.
It's honestly, it's great. It reminds me of a Mac Miller line. One of my favorite artists. Actually, I have a bobblehead here of Mac Miller, who
R.I.P.
passed away in Studio City, L.A. transplant. There's a song that he has that making somebody smile. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he said, "Making somebody smile is prettier than any picture that Monet could have painted." And to have that feeling, to be able to evoke that kind of emotion, that happiness. Okay, we're running a little bit out of time, so I want to kind of wind it down, but I do want to talk about something important. I know that there is a big, how do you explain it? With Uber, they're putting something on the ballot this year, right? That's going to limit people's ability to claim liability, or to accuse Uber of liability. Phrase this for me, because all I know is this, is Uber's putting something on the ballot that's being billed as consumer friendly. But what it really is limiting the ability of somebody who is potentially in a situation to get what they really deserve in a settlement. Yeah. Explain it better.
Well, it's going to kill car accident victims' rights to recover. So
okay, tell me.
There's been a bunch of, and a lot of people know a lot more about this than I do, and I'm hopefully going to work with you to get them on the show.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of New York Times articles that came out where Uber has had sexual assaults reported to them every 8 minutes.
True. Yep.
And they've done the bare minimum. I mean, this has come up through discovery, and we have their files, and we see what they said. They've done the bare minimum to stop it. They put profits over people.
Right.
And now essentially what they're trying to do is just make it impossible for someone who was involved in any car accident to be able to recover. And how they're framing it is that accident victims should end up with 75% of their recovery.
Okay.
But what happens when an accident victim ends up with 75% of the recovery?
Right.
That means they can't get the medical care they need,
right,
because medical care is expensive. And the only way you can end up with 75% is if you're using Medi-Cal or Medicare
right,
to go to the doctor, because if not, it's going to cost you probably more than 25% just
absolutely,
for medical bills, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, on $1 million case, I mean, it's someone who's really badly injured. In order to get a surgery like the fusion surgery, you said it's going to cost you upwards of $100,000 just for that. That doesn't even include all the follow-up appointments and all those things. So you're basically, after an accident, you're not going to be able to go to the doctor that you want to go to. Uber's going to stop that. But that's not what a person's going to think when they see, I end up at 75%. They're going to be so happy. So that's why it's important to educate the public, right? And then obviously lawyers have to make money too.
I was going to say that. That's a big thing. Right.
So what Uber's going to say is, you can just, submit this to the insurance company. You don't need a lawyer.
Right.
And you can just use this 25% for medical care. But that's not how this works. I mean, there's costs associated with being a lawyer. There's overhead. I mean, we just talked about, big costs. So Uber is trying to, fool the public and, lie in order to protect themselves, because they want to put these personal injury lawyers and, just civil rights lawyers, because that's what we are. At the end of the day, we're protecting people's civil rights, right? Yeah. They don't want us to sue them for the rapes that happen in Ubers. They want to put us out of business, because if we can't take auto cases, which are our bread and butter, then we can't go after them for the rapes. We can't go after them for the sexual assaults. And then essentially they can just put these autonomous cars onto the street and they can hit anyone, and Uber has a license to just get away with it, right?
Wow.
That's Uber's big plan. That's why they're pouring $500 million into this ballot in 2026.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot more on that. This is very new. We just heard about it, but
it's a big deal. You guys are going to hear, listen, the election's in November. I mean, we had the primaries before, but that's on the ballot in November. And I know as a fact from September on, you're going to be inundated with whether it's commercials when you're on TV or online, ads, all this kind of stuff. But I think a big part, and I'll say this on your behalf, is with the 25% lawyers' fees, lawyers that run firms, there is a big cost associated with that. And people are like, we don't want the lawyers involved. Well, guess what? Without the lawyers involved, you're getting $2,000 settlement instead of $100,000 settlement. So would you want 75% of $2,000 or a smaller percentage of a much larger number? And I think that that's a big thing where you see the 75% and you're like, of course, it's better for the consumer, but it's not, because you're not exercising your rights. You're almost being shoehorned. You're funneled into this settlement where it's great, I get this bigger percentage. on a way lower dollar amount, and overall it's a net negative for the consumer. So I think that's important to keep in mind, and we're going to keep an eye on that one and keep talking about this one as this year develops, because there's a lot of things on the docket, but that's going to be a big one that you're going to keep hearing about.
I mean, on $100,000 case, you'd be lucky to end up right now that settles for like $100,000 with Uber's new law. I think you'd be lucky to probably net $1,000 if you're lucky.
Yeah, and of course, when these big companies put stuff like that, it's not for the good of the people. All right, backing off a little bit from the legal. Tell me about LA. What are your favorite things about LA, man? What do you love about this city? Because I know you love this city.
I mean, other than the weather, which is like 80 degrees on January.
Dude,
in January, you can go outside and go to the beach.
And t-shirts in mid-January. Okay.
I mean, the weather's amazing. Listen, I mean, there's nowhere like LA. Malibu, being able to go to the beach, right? The Grove, being able to be outdoors. Like I said, like in New York, you only get to live life a few months out of the year. The rest you're plagued here. Something's happening every single day. It's a vibrant city. Yeah. Without getting too much into politics, it might not be the same as it was, but I'm hoping, it gets a lot better because I love LA and it's home.
Right.
But yeah, man, just, being able to go out, have lunch, in Beverly Hills or in Malibu, just sit out, enjoy the beautiful weather.
Yeah.
The Lakers.
Yeah.
I love the Lakers, being able to go to a Laker game.
Right.
We have Luka now.
Luka, man. But I feel, I don't even want to say this out loud, but I feel like we have a ceiling with LeBron.
Yeah, we do.
I'm not an anti-LeBron guy. I'm a pro-LeBron guy, and what he's accomplished is incredible.
But he's done.
You look at his stats, yeah. He's not done, but I don't, you can't, there's a ceiling there, man. Yeah. There's a ceiling, and it felt like they were doing better earlier this year before LeBron came back. And I know his numbers are great, and I like LeBron, I'm not a LeBron hater, but you're right. But it is a fun team, though. It's still, they're still fun. They're having some.
What I like about Luka is he's a killer. Yeah. And LeBron's not a killer, right? And we were talking about Mamba mentality, and I grew up, with that Kobe killer mentality, and I missed that. Yeah. So to be able to see a young dog in our city, and he's just getting started. I mean, I think especially once LeBron leaves, and he is the face, but once he's when it's his team, I mean, bro, it's and another thing. The next few years in LA are going to be on fire. We have the All-Star game. Wow. We have the World Cup. Yep. We have the Olympics. I mean, bro, we're on fire, man.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a very, very awesome next couple of years. Okay, before we go, tell us about Injuryneeds. Where do we contact you? What's the best way to get in touch? I know you guys got a new phone number, right?
Yes, we got a 1-800 number.
Yeah.
We're doing so much more than just Los Angeles now. We're growing, and we're going to do some pilot programs in other states, but we wanted to get a 1-800 number. It's 1-800-888-8008.
Okay.
So that's the best way to reach us. Someone's always available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to pick up the phone, help you out, do intake, sign you up, fight for you on the insurance company. And that's the best way. Follow us on Instagram at Injuryneeds. Yeah. You can DM us. We're a little bit slower on DM. We're good. We're good on phones.
Okay. At Injuryneeds, but make sure you follow him too. Because again, I gotta say this, and this is true. I don't know any other attorney. I don't even know if I follow any other attorneys that aren't like a friend or an associate. But he's an attorney with a fun feed. These calls are interesting and fun to watch. So I mean,
I don't really even look at I don't look at us as a law firm.
Yeah.
I look at us as a community, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's really that's been my mission, to just build a community. These, the Instagram, the hoodies, a lot of people are like, why the fuck are you passing out hundreds of hoodies for free to people? But I want people to feel part of something.
Yeah.
I want my clients to feel part of something. I want to build a family, a community, and thank God that's what I've done on social media.
Yeah,
and at our firm with our employees and with our clients. So that's really what we are, and I welcome everyone to join that community, because we're going to do great things, and it's only going to get better and better. 2026 is our year, and with you and your help.
I was going to say, I'm glad I'm part of it. And stay tuned, because we have good giveaways. We got some fun stuff coming up this year. And also some fun episodes, man. So we're making moves together, and I'm very proud to know you and thankful for what you do for LA and just being a genuine, authentic, good guy. David Yerushalmi, Yerushalmi Law Firm, aka Injury Needs. Make sure you give him a follow. And what a great story, man. I really, really thank you for being here.
It's a real honor, man. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, David. I'm so glad you could come. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate that. All right, LA. It's been a minute.